going to make it full screen. The other thing that while I'm sharing this, if you'd like to see everyone else while I'm sharing, you can go to the top, which I think should be the right, yeah, the right hand corner, and there's like some little boxes, and you should be able to change the settings so that you can see other people while I'm presenting. So you'll be able to do that. Let me know. I'm gonna try and pull up I can't see the chat when I'm full screen, so maybe I'll answer the questions at the end, or Dennis, you can let me know if there's any pressing questions, or just jump in, that's fine too. So anyways, I am Charlotte McDermott. I work for an organization called Amazing Place. I'm not sure if you've heard of us. We are a nonprofit that our mission is to end the stigma of dementia by, well, that's our vision, is that the world is not stigmatized by dementia anymore, but our mission is to empower lives that are disrupted by dementia. So what does that mean? So we work with people, we have a day program where people can come who have been diagnosed with dementia or similar conditions, like, I mean, that's a whole nother soapbox about, you know, how doctors aren't really diagnosing dementia as it really should be diagnosed. But anyways, and we also work a lot with caregivers. That's kind of my job. So my name again is Charlotte. I am the Family Services Coordinator. I was hired on about 6 months ago to reach out to the Katy community, and we're really excited to be building a new building, a new day center in the Katy area off of Fry and I-10. So I know we are really excited to be in the Katy community. Anyway, so my presentation today is called Worried About Your Memory, It May Not Be Dementia. Okay, so I just am here to, I'm just trying to reassure you that you're not going crazy, right? And I'm gonna do this by telling you about the 8 common causes of memory lapses, when there should maybe be a cause for concern. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the 4 pillars of improving your memory towards the end, so we'll kind of end on an upbeat note. Anyway, so I'm going to first start by talking a little bit about how memory works. So there's 3 different parts of our memory. There's the sensory memory, the short-term memory, and long-term memory. This diagram I wanted to show you all because the idea of memory is a very interactive, complicated process. So your brain is already doing so much work. So we need to not be so hard on our brains when we can't recall things sometimes. So anyways, I'm going to explain that first. Things come in from our 5 senses into our sensory memory. So that's like touch, smells, things that happen to us, like to our senses. And so that is the encoding and registering of new information. So the only time that that information gets stored is if we bring awareness to it. So, you know, oh, the smell of chocolate chip cookies, that was so delicious. I'm thinking about that. I'm aware of that. My wife made them or whatever. So having something associated with that sense can get it into our short-term memory, if that makes sense. So our short-term memory is a holding tank. You can think of it as a holding tank. So think about the digits of a phone number, right? So I know I have a hard time sometimes remembering digits of a phone number because that amount of digits is the actual amount of pieces of information that your short-term memory can remember in one moment. So think about all the things that go through your head at one moment, and then you're trying to remember something on top of it. It's just not going to get stored because we're not maybe focusing on it or what have you. So short-term memory, all that to say, short-term memory is the most affected by all types of the different common causes of memory lapses, right? So short-term memory is the most affected. It's also most affected by dementia. That's why, you know, commonly people with dementia ask the same question over and over again. It's the short-term memory that is most affected because it's really honestly the most complex part of remembering. And then the third and kind of most important part of memory is the long-term memory. So some people ask me, well, why is my husband or wife, you know, asking me a bunch of questions, but then tries to get out in the car and drive? How do they remember how to drive and not remember what they're going to eat for, you know, I keep telling them what they're going to eat for lunch and they keep forgetting it. Well, long-term memory, such as procedures, loved ones, childhood memories, these are also memories associated with emotions. So like I said earlier, the sensory, you know, the smell of chocolate chip cookies comes to mind. And then, you know, a memory gets launched into when we were kids and, you know, our mom made us chocolate chip cookies after school, or you smell a bonfire or sunscreen, and you go back to different memories. So the long-term memory is the least affected by dementia and other common memory lapses. So does anybody have any questions about that so far? Good. So anyways, that's just a little bit of a summary about memory. So now I'm going to go into the 8 common causes of memory lapses. The biggest thing that I want you to take away from this is that they are all treatable, all of these 8 causes, okay? So it's not, they're treatable. So we can do something to help us improve our memory in certain ways. So the first, and I would say the most important one is stress. Okay, so stress is the constant state of emergency, and it has to do with the release of a hormone called cortisol, right? So this hormone literally changes your neurochemistry, and if you are under a prolonged amount of stress, this can cause a lot of damage in your brain, such as, you know, you can lose brain cells, you can lose receptors, you know, so it's no wonder stress is always talked about, I feel like, because I think it's the most impactful but least understandable cause for a lot of problems, and including memory problems. So again, you know, we're going to talk a little bit later about how to de-stress, but stress is a big cause. So if you're under, you know, any type of stress and you have trouble remembering things, that could be one of the reasons. The second one is medications. A lot of times when you're taking, we see this commonly if you're taking multiple medications, they can be kind of interacting with each other and making it hard to remember things, or just feeling foggy. So, you know, if you or your loved one, you can kind of notice some sort of memory issue, like not being able to remember things, or kind of, you know, not as quick as they were before, you can ask or think about the fact that they might be taking another medication. And that can also be changed. You know, you go to your doctor and say, hey, I don't like what this is doing. And that's, yeah, so a lot of times that happens. Depression, I feel like this is a mental health thing that we don't like to talk about as much, but it really affects your memory. So, you know, depression happens when there's low levels of serotonin in our brain. And serotonin is a neurotransmitter that helps us, one part of the brain, communicate with the other. So if you do not have enough serotonin in your brain, and, you know, you're lethargic, you don't want to get out of bed, you don't have motivation to do things, not only is that happening, but also it's going to be really hard to remember things. So this, again, depression is very treatable. It's very common. But the good thing about that is there's a lot of ways to treat depression. Another kind of, this is kind of a crazy one. Your thyroid, if your thyroid is hyperactive or underactive, this can cause a lot of different inefficiencies in hormones within your body. And that can actually alter your mental status, right? So, and kind of, you can't concentrate as much. it slows your processing skills. And then there's a lot of other potential symptoms. So if you're kind of going through the list and you're like, I'm not that stressed, I'm not taking medications, I'm not depressed, but I'm feeling fatigued, I'm getting muscle cramps, I have like a really weird type of weight gain that doesn't really make sense, or there's a lot of different things. I encourage you to research, just kind of quickly Google thyroid conditions, because a lot of times these just kind of happen out of the blue. So yeah, that can affect your memory. Also, menopause. I know that this only affects maybe half of the group here, but I would also argue that it affects all of us because we're all in it together. So menopause has shown that research has shown that menopause, the brain drain, anything that you feel is connected to menopause probably is. So one of them is feeling like you can't retain information, being distracted, feeling fuzzy, all those things are real. So again, that's another thing that can be treated, and that's a very personal, decision on how you want to treat your menopause. But that can affect your memory, which is quite interesting. Alcohol. I don't think that this crowd is maybe needs the most lecturing about this. I know that y'all are really good about your alcohol consumption, but this is maybe something that you can see in friends or family members, is the alcohol consumption can really affect your memory. There is a type of dementia that is caused by prolonged alcohol use, which is quite scary. So, we really should only be drinking. We really shouldn't be drinking alcohol at all. It is not good for our brains or our memories. But, if you do drink a little bit, everything in moderation. So just a couple of ounces of red wine a day is what is recommended. And then brain injuries. So what I wanted to say about this is that brain injuries like concussions, things that, a fall, you don't necessarily have to lose consciousness for a brain injury to affect your memory. So maybe if your mom or some person in your life is kind of you go through this list and you're like, okay, well, have you fallen recently, or have you been in a car accident? And if they say yes, then that could be part of it. Again, that's treatable. And so let me go back. And then the last but not least is normal aging. Oh my goodness. It's okay to lose a little bit of our memories as we age. Yes, it is, because we are not invincible. Our bodies age just like any other part. I'm sure we've all noticed parts of our body aging. It's a little harder to get going in the morning, a little harder to run, our joints, everything. But your brain is the same way. It is not gonna stay, our brains start aging in our 20s, and I'm in my 20s. And so I am okay if I'm starting to forget things too, right? So we are aging, and that's okay. So again, but there's treatments for normal aging. So you just need to make sure you relax. It's really normal. I really like this quote. Age doesn't make you forgetful. Having way too many stupid things to remember makes you forgetful. Yes. So there is a lot of what ifs though, right? So maybe you're not feeling like this is the list of the 8 common causes are satisfying to what's going on with you. So I'm going to just talk briefly about causes for concern. The main one is the feeling of fear, kind of knowing that something just isn't right, that you're not as you used to be, but in a more integral way. And I'll explain these with examples here in a minute. Another cause for concern is major changes in how you work or play. So the things that you used to be able to do, you're not really able to do anymore. Compensation. So, making really a lot, very, very detailed to-do lists, sending more emails, asking for more help, buying takeout dinner because maybe you've forgotten how to use all the utensils in your kitchen, abandoning hobbies, not just because of, you know, other things like being able to replace them by, you know, new and fun activities, but just kind of feeling like you can't do them anymore. Also giving up driving is a big one. You know, friends or family are kind of concerned. There was a study that showed that friends and family were the better indicator of someone having dementia than like the normal screening questions. So like the people that know you best are noticing and are concerned. You know, so all of this is, again, you know, you find yourself on the defensive. Your people are trying to question you a little bit more. They cover for you. So friends and family is a big one. But anyway, so, and then finally, like choices become really challenging. So let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go to this comparing slide. So one age-related memory goof is missing a monthly payment on whatever bill, okay? Dementia is the inability to manage a budget, right? So that's kind of a bigger scope. The next one would be forgetting what day it is and then remembering later. And then dementia would be like losing track of the day and time, being kind of disoriented and not sure where you really are. And so yeah, kind of and then sometimes forgetting what word to use. So like the tip of the tongue, I get this a lot. And then difficulty maintaining and having a conversation. That's not about like shyness or whatever. It's just like you are not able to like form a conversation with another person. Losing things from time to time, that is a big thing for me. And then misplacing things and putting them in unusual places, right? So keys in the refrigerator. And someone brought up one time, I was giving this presentation and like, well, I one time put my keys in the refrigerator and we talked through it a little bit and she was in a rush and she had misplaced them and didn't like, she was unloading her groceries and like that happened like one time. But the thing about misplacing things in unusual places is you can't remember where they actually should go, right? So that's kind of the key difference. So I'm going to talk about dementia, but I'm going to kind of run through these quickly because I want to get to the healthy living parts. But anyways, dementia is kind of an umbrella, right? There's different types. It's really quite interesting to look at the different types and what really what the condition encompasses. So Alzheimer's is the most common, and then vascular dementia. Vascular dementia is when you have some sort of heart condition or you have a stroke or something, and then the blood flow is not able to reach the brain. And so that kind of causes dementia. And then there's a lot of other different types. I'm gonna blow through this one. So anyways, if you are concerned or concerned for a loved one, these are kind of the 5 steps to, you know, approach your potential dementia diagnosis. So obviously talk to your doctor, keep a journal, get educated about dementia. You know, the geriatric evaluations are really helpful. They're very thorough, so that can help. And then consult with financial planners or accountants because money can be really hard when you have a dementia diagnosis as it progresses. So I want to focus on these 4 pillars of improving our memories. So the first one is nutrition. The second is exercise. Third is stress reduction. And 4th is memory enhancement strategies. So this is an amazing quote. We can reduce our risk of every major chronic illness by 80%, heart disease, all these different ones, by nutrition and exercise. No drug can do this. So again, 80%, we can reduce our risk for every major chronic disease by 80% through nutrition and exercise. No drug can reduce your risk like that. So that's like very encouraging. So let's talk a little bit about nutrition. I'm not going to use the word diet because I don't believe in that. At Amazing Place, we do not believe in the term diet because we think nutrition is something that should be sustainable and just part of your lifestyle. So, because no one wants to hear about your diet, right? Just eat your salad and be sad. Like, just go do that. We're going to do something better. So this is our chef at Amazing Place. He's incredible. He makes the most delicious brain healthy meals. Our memory preservation nutrition program is actually a thing. So I encourage you to Google that, memory preservation nutrition program. It is a way to reduce inflammation in the brain, basically, so that you can get fresh blood in your brain, in your body, and enhances your memory, which is really incredible. So the MPN program is proven to prevent and slow the progression of cognitive decline in Alzheimer's. So kind of like how people with cancer change their nutrition while they're undergoing treatments and they, cut out sugar and all that kind of thing. This is the same thing. There is problems in your brain, and you can help slow and prevent the progression of cognitive decline in Alzheimer's by the food and nutrients that you consume. So what are parts of the memory preservation program? I'm just going to kind of go through what we need to eat more of and what we need to eat less of. Okay, so the first is, variety. Eat the rainbow. I mean, there's a lot of different colors of food, and we got to put them all on our plate. Whole foods, so not packaged or processed. So, spending the most time in the produce section instead of, the chip aisles, right? Because we want whole foods, whole grains. I think I'll say that here in a minute. Vegetables and fruits, especially green leafy vegetables. So antioxidants is really what we're going for here. They help reduce inflammation in your brain and keep the blood flow within your brain so that you can be creating healthy neurons. So this not only helps your brain, but also your blood sugar and your lipids, right? And like I said, decreases inflammation. So leafy greens, which they can be frozen, by the way, so any frozen fruits or vegetables are really healthy for you because when it's frozen, the nutrients are locked in. So that is not something you need to avoid. Fish and seafood, three or more times a week. That's really important. Spices and herbs. Not only do spices and herbs help in, with the flavor of your food, but also really help have really good anti-inflammatory parts of them. So, cinnamon, ginger, rosemary, oregano, turmeric, every day, right? That's really important. So having those spices and just throwing them on any salad or meat that you're making or whatever it is. Nuts and seeds every day. That's a great snack. Those are healthy fats, so those are really good for you. Beans and lentils, 3 or more times a week. So that's a great, stews are awesome. And they're a really good way to have lunch for the rest of the week. You make it on a whatever day and you can have it for a while. They only taste better with time. Again, whole grains. So making sure you have whole grains. Berries and other fruits. So it's interesting. A lot of the fruit in our supermarkets are genetically modified to taste better, so you buy more. So that means that they have more sugar, which is a big bummer because, fruits are supposed to be healthy for you. So to avoid that, we should be eating a lot more berries instead of bigger fruits, that berries have a ton of antioxidants. All those rich colors will show you that. And kind of changing our oil consumption. So olive oil and avocado oil, as well as just avocados, those are really healthy fats for you. And then water, start with 1 or 2 glasses each morning and keep hydrated throughout the day. That's really important. So I'm going to talk a little bit about eat less. So eat less of sugars of all kinds. This is so depressing for me as a dessert lover, but it really is true. The research really shows that eating less sugar is so good for your body and your brain because it reduces the inflammation. Sugar inflames different parts of your body, and your body has to work really hard to kind of combat that inflammation. So it's really important to try to keep our sugar intake on the minimum. Again, yeah, it's toxic. It creates prediabetes, this is nuts. Shrinks the hippocampus where short-term and spatial memories are made, and can cause cholesterol and those kind of things that harm our brain, which is a bummer. But the good thing is, it's not like we can't eat any sugar, right? But should be really the amount that we add in a day. As you can see, 9 teaspoons for men and 6 teaspoons for women. So yeah, we gotta reduce that. So the next one is exercise. So exercise is really important. It's a huge stress reliever as well. At Amazing Place, this is a picture of Amazing Place doing chair yoga. Again, sedentary life increases your chances of dementia. So sitting is the new smoking, right? We've got to stay active. So again, the benefits of exercise are numerous. Can create new neurons. It's a fertilizer for our brain. We can reduce depression through this. Leads to better sleep, which is the time when we flush out our toxins. Reduces your risk for diabetes, because diabetes is really connected actually to dementia, which is kind of interesting. And so exercise is a way to reduce our stress, right? So physical activity, yoga, walking, Tai Chi, Pilates, all of those things, stress reduction. Again, that was the #1 cause of memory lapses, besides, any sort of dementia condition. So we really need to make sure that we're reducing our stress. Relaxation, journaling, spiritual practices, meditation, prayer, breathing, massage, things that really calm you. Socialization, so what we're doing right now is a stress reduction, right? Getting together, laughing, even if it is virtually. Volunteering is also a really great way. Counseling, I know that Kingsland has an amazing counseling program, and y'all do an amazing job to help people's mental health. So counseling is a huge part of it. Also, support groups, things that's a really good thing to get involved in, and prayer groups. So our memory training course, we actually have a memory training course that we do, and it helps you learn strategies to utilize your brain better, basically. So we address the common memory complaints. So forgetting faces and names, forgetting to do things in the future, where you put things, and knowing like the tip of the tongue, memory challenges, right? So I'm just gonna share a brief strategy with you called paying attention. So consciously paying attention to the details of what you see, hear, or read. So for example, let's say we need to remember to buy, okay, this is one example. We need to remember to buy blueberries at the store for your blueberry muffins that you're gonna make, your brain healthy blueberry muffins. And so you need to visualize the store, the section where the blueberries are, like take a second and just think about it, right? Which is so simple, but it really does help. So notice the landmarks, think about the meaning. So why am I making these? Oh, because my grandkid is coming in town. Ask yourself a question about how this affects you. So I'm so excited to see the joy on my grandkids' face when I make them these blueberry muffins. and I want to remember it so we can have a great time, right? So the more that you make connections in your brain about the one thing you need to remember, the better it is that you're going to remember. Another one is association. So this is good for faces and names. So you meet someone named Mr. Burger. This is a very oversimplified example. And so you picture him as a hamburger, or you are like, okay, I just met Mr. Burger. We're going to go have a hamburger later. This is perfect, right? So you kind of associate names and faces with objects. And then imagery, visualize what you want to remember. Okay, in this example, you need to get tulips for your mom. You need to bring them to her because it's her birthday. So you're going to visualize what you want to remember and then create an image and focus on the image. So again, a wacky image is the tulip. So, oops, sorry. So imagining the bucket at the Trader Joe's or wherever you get your tulips to be two lips floating around, like having a weird image, right, in your head, which kind of seems silly, but it really does help. That, making yourself laugh is going to help you remember. So again, our memory training program is awesome. We're actually doing it virtually. So if you're interested, we've actually just finished one. There's quite a few participants. There are 4 people that don't have any memory impairment. You meet for 4 weeks, 2 hours, all this kind of thing is going to be taught in that. So it's really exciting. It's really fun. So again, this is my information, and that's it. Let's go back. Yeah, so that's my number and email. So if you want to reach out to me. But anyways, yeah, that is the presentation. I wanted to open it back up for any questions or discussion. So yeah.
Thank you, Charlotte, so much. That was so informative.
I know, it was a lot of info, so.
You know how I remember your name?
What?
You know how I remember your name?
How?
NASCAR.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Charlotte, North Carolina is where their home base is.
There you go.
I could have said Charlotte's Web, but that would be too obvious.
Yeah, I get that one a lot, Charlotte's Web. But I like that one. Charlotte, North Carolina, NASCAR. There you go. So having those associations is really great.
This is so awesome. Does anyone have any questions? And I know that she went through the part about if you have questions about a loved one or yourself with dementia issues. She went through that pretty quickly. Now's a good time if you have a question that you'd like to ask her relating to those. Just unmute yourself or hold your hand up and I'll unmute you. Either way. Any questions? Mike Kelly. Mike Kelly's first up. Maybe unmute him. Well, I'm trying to unmute him. Maybe.
Oh, I think I have to maybe do it.
Okay.
Here, I'm going to give you back. Here, let me give you back the host.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting authority back. Yes.
There you go. You're the host. So you can.
I'm the host now. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll unmute. There you go, Mike. You're unmuted.
I'm unmuted. Okay. How can we access your PowerPoint?
I will send it to you. How about that? I will get y'all's.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Of course. I'll get your emails from Dennis and send them.
See what, if you'll send it to me, Charlotte, I'll put it in my next first gen e-letter, and
Okay,
that
great.
will have that information there as well. Okay. Thanks, Mike. Great question. Who's up? Bill. Yeah, I see you waving. Well, I'm trying to unmute you. There we go.
Can you hear? I've got a question, Charlotte. Do you find that memory loss is found in patients that have certain diseases, like the muscular diseases or any of that nature, muscular dystrophy or loss if you're suffering from any of those diseases?
The only one that I can think of that is research has shown is really connected is Parkinson's. That's one that, and Lewy bodies. Those are the two that I can think of that are associated, like that have the potential to have dementia incorporated into that, the list of kind of conditions from those sorts of diseases. But again, it's not gonna affect everyone that has those, if that makes sense. Like
Yes.
it can happen because the degeneration of certain muscles or whatever can also, that degeneration can also affect the brain. Your brain can start happening in your brain. But again, it just depends on the nature of the condition.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay. Anyone else?
Charlotte was talking about the tulips. I took a Dale Carnegie course 100 years ago, and one of the things they taught us is how do you remember a person's name? The way you do that, you make a funny picture on top of their head of their name. So, for instance, for Charlotte, I would see her with a large car lot on top of her head. A lot of automobiles. Car lot, Charlotte. And it worked. Try that. It really worked. And so I used to use that a lot in sales. And nowadays, well, I still use it from time to time. Ours. Huh? Oh, for us, for Binkowski, I tell people, do you know what a bin is? Something you store stuff in, you get out. I said, think of a cow on skis inside of a bin. That's a pretty funny looking picture.
There you go.
And on top of my head, a bin with a cow on skis inside of it, in cow skis.
There you go.
Now, Bob, think of fishing in a bobber, I guess. Okay, I'll be quiet.
No, that's so good. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, so it is a well-known concept that Dale Carnegie he taught that. That was in his, and I took that course, golly, 40 years ago. And they still teach the same thing because I've talked to people, they still use that method.
That's awesome.
Denise, I see you've got your hand up. You got a question or a comment?
Okay. Am I unmuted?
You're unmuted.
I'm
Yes.
trying to look at my thing. Well, I have a question because I've had a lot of anesthesia. Like I've had a lot of surgeries that were all day long into the night.
Mhm.
And so I'm only 62, but struggling a lot and with memory stuff. And then now my liver is an issue, and I was never a drinker. It's totally whatever everything else, right?
Mhm.
Lifetime. And so do you see people maybe just, this is anecdotal, and I don't even know if you could answer yes or no because your position with Amazing Grace, but do you see people benefited, or do you hear people say they are benefited by these organ cleansing programs in improving their memory? Because I've heard that the anesthesia never leaves your body, and some of these other medications like want to just get stored up in the liver or in the fatty tissue or whatever, and damage. When you start damaging things, your brain's just a part of that.
Right. I've never heard of this organ cleansing. Again, if it's something maybe your doctor has talked to you about, I think that's maybe something to consider, speaking with your physician, and, seeing what they recommend in terms of, anything with your liver or whatever. I haven't heard that in the research about, specific organs besides your heart being able to potentially affect your memory. But yeah, anesthesia, I think there is a lot of research behind the fact that anesthesia can affect your memory, but it's more if someone was, kind of older and gets put under anesthesia and already was having a lot of memory issues, that can cause like a decline, if that makes sense. So I don't think the fact that you were under anesthesia when you were younger, or, you're 62, so you're still pretty young. So to me, I don't think that would necessarily affect you, your memory.
Okay, great question.
Thank you.
Of course.
Anyone else? Okay, I know that, sometimes this can be a real personal issue.
Mhm.
that we have. And I can promise you, Charlotte would love to chat with you individually if that's something that you would like to do. Can be a great help. The Amazing Place is an awesome ministry, and so much love supporting it and partner with them on numerous things. They've helped us so much. We've had several different training events here. We've had the Savvy Caregiver a couple of times. We've had the memory training, whatever that was called. We've had that as well. And so, Charlotte, thank you so much. If no one else has anything specific for Charlotte, I know she's a busy young lady and's got lots to do. I'm going to leave this open for a little bit and unmute everyone so that we can chat if you'd like to chat. Like I said, we're also recording this, so we're going to try. I'll see if I can figure out what we have to do to make it available. And once we do, probably it'll be out on the empoweredhomes.org website. Okay. Plus, I'll share. All right. Charlotte, thank you so much. Now let me unmute everyone. And y'all can have it. There we go. Okay.
Thank you so much for that presentation. It was really fabulous. I learned a lot.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. And I'll make sure to send the PowerPoint. And because I blew through a couple things, so I'll make sure that you guys can, if you want to focus on a certain aspect of it, you can. And again, yeah, the memory training is a great way to the memory enhancement is like the fourth pillar. So our memory training has been really positive for people who are just a little bit nervous, and not even nervous, just interested in being able to use your brain, and maybe want to go away a little bit from all their long to-do lists and asking people things. It's like you learn how to use your brain in a more efficient manner. So I got trained in that class, so I really enjoyed it for that reason.
Hey, Charlotte,
Yes.
Bob here. Hey, being on the Council of Congregations, I'm one of the members of that, as you know. Would you mind mentioning, give these people it would give them some incentive to know how real this thing is that's going to be in Katy. Go by the property, see where it is, and see the picture out there. I'd love people to see that this is a real thing, folks. And it is coming once the funding is, what all the parameters are done. I know there's design work and all going on. But I do encourage you. It's very close by. It's over by the former Ritz of St. Catherine's, near the old, there was a MD Anderson building. It sits right in front of it and on the street there. What is that address? Do you remember the cross street, Charlotte?
It's Fry and Britannia.
Yeah.
It's on Britannia. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, it's by where the long-term, I can maybe pull it up on a map. Let me see if I can pull that and share my screen.
Yeah.
Oh wait, so basically I'm not able to do that, and I think we're still trying to, because we're going to construct it like from the ground up. The property we have there is just, trees and grass, and obviously we want to keep as many of the trees as we can, but because of the nature of our day program and how like